Oh, okay. My mic wasn't working. Fuck. I don't know what's up with slobs lately, man. It's being so annoying. But yeah, I'm doing well, buddy. Doing well. I don't know if you didn't ask me how I was, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. But yeah, good morning to you as well. Hopefully you are having a decent morning. I'm just getting my out of the way. I didn't sleep at all last night, so I very much doubt I'm gonna have the capacity to stream later today. I'm just gonna get it out of the way right now, just because otherwise I won't be able to go to sleep. I mean, I can't. It's a really weird feeling, but I really can't sleep outside my usual schedule of no schedule, so it's always a bit problematic. But yeah, I'm just getting some warmth into my fingers right now. Just doing a little tiny sketchy poo right here. That doesn't look too bad. Watch schedule, I'm actually really regular, at least I was before last week. And then last week, because of the power issues, for whatever reason, I got power in the morning. I got power in the early morning, so between 2 and like 7 a.m. So I just stayed up so I had some time to paint. And yeah, it's really wrecked me, and I don't like it. Anyway, let's get rid of that. A little bit of some blood in the fingers right there. Alright, I'm gonna grab a reference and start working. I wanna do a little warm-up piece and about 45. Another piece. Oh, start this really quick. Is the timer now working? Unfortunate. Let's fix that. But yeah, my eyes are burning. They're burning. Real problematic. Have you looked into traditional? I mean, I'm not gonna fucking learn an entire style of painting and buy a bunch of paints for when my power goes off. That's But I have been doing a bunch of traditional. I mean, I'm doing a bunch of sketchbook work. Obviously, that's the only thing that I can do when the power's off. So at least I've been doing a lot of sketching, which has been okay. But I don't like. You can't iterate really well traditionally, which I don't like. Like the way that I iterate is heavily like dependent on digital. You can iterate to a certain extent, depending on how you use the tools. But the issue with my iteration is that I use ballpoint, so I use ink, so it's non-erasable, so I can't modify, and it's problematic. It's not as workable. Get good? I mean, I'm already very proficient in one thing. Why would I choose to expand? Right? You're benefiting choosing to adhere to the exception, but you're just fucking trolling, so why am I bothering? Why am I addressing it? just call you a retard and move on with my life. Alright, let's do this. I want to do something a little bit special for this one. I want to change up that proportion very dramatically. I want to amp this floof. This is going to be a terminal floof drawing. I'm going to hit some peak levels of floof with this particular drawing. It's going to be something quite special. Also, the internet connection today has been really good. That's the main point of the stream, by the way, as in usually I would just not stream at all. But I really want to get streams out there, because the idea, define floof, as in fur, as in the poofiness of a fur. That's the floofiness. The poofy fur is floof, and floofiness is the poof. So I want to get that really egregiously done in this piece right here. Vanities, good to see you. We just began this piece. Did we begin? I didn't even hit my timer. Awful streamer. Alright, so I'm gonna do this with maybe some... Oh my god, everything is just working so well. Unfortunately, I myself am not at peak performance, otherwise I could really capitalize on this, but even the performance on Krita is actually quite good today. So everything is just coming up me, except for the fact that I am severely deprived. You know, professional hair fluffer. Oh yeah, that is a job description. Abs, alright? Don't knock it till you tried it. So cut down on that value in the background. It seems a little bit harsh right now. Let's maybe slightly cut into that a little bit. Let's warm you up. For that, buddy, alright? We'll give you a bit of warm. How's that looking for you? That's alright. That's alright. Let's just cut some area off the canvas because it looks a little bit too oblong. Pretty sure it's called a hairstylist. Pretty sure you're wrong.
Okay, so now this is the way we really throw a wrench into the works. Panel perception, great job on the villager concept stuff yesterday. Not too bad on the overall designs, but what I really liked was the variety. They were really kind of pushing the variety, and I liked it. Very cynicsy. I'm rarely wrong, says the person that's always wrong, right? Any man that says I am king is no king. Alright, so now this is where I push the abstraction. Okay, we're really gonna push this. Okay, this is no longer a dog. It's gonna be a cube. You're gonna draw a cube instead of a dog. Okay? I haven't slept at all. So I'm not gonna be drawing wolves today. I'm gonna be drawing a cube. I'm gonna draw a cube of fur, and that's what I'm gonna render. And you can't stop me. I'm gonna be honest. You had your chance, you had your chances early on, but now I've grown into a weapon that can surpass Metal Gear. Nothing shall hold me. But good job on those villagers, man. I think those are pretty good. If you want me to look at them as well, I can. If you'd like. Otherwise, I mean, wayside, I think it's fine. You're heading in a good track, good direction right there. What's the most important thing when drawing a wolf? Same thing. Get those proportions right? Get those initial little marks right. So let's get those initial marks right. So first of all, let's solidify a position here because it's really important that this cube is very cubey. Like, that's really what I'm kind of getting at here. So let's cubify it really quickly. I'm going to show you something like a desaturated, warmish, greenish color, something like this. How about that? How about that? Does anybody have an objection to that? I don't think you will. Self-respecting human being would object to starting it with this obnoxiously green color. Let's do it. They're pretty quick. I want to keep them simple. Simple is good, man. So I'm gonna just quickly. So why am I doing this, by the way? What is the justification? What is the point? The point is I want to slightly separate stuff away from the background, right? I don't want to be painting on this notion of extreme blues and darks and all this stuff. I want to give myself a little bit of room. Not too much though, because I actually want there to be a lot of play on the background values for this particular piece right here. But just in the notion of separation, you know, just a little bit of separation. That's all I really care about. I'm gonna make a couple of marks really quickly, just to kind of give me some clear ideas of where to proceed. So we're gonna make a line like this right over there. Gonna make a line there. Gonna make a line right over there. Gonna make a line right there for the ear. And let's just say randomly, maybe the nose right over here. This is actually gonna be really important. This is the one thing that I have to really care about, is this distance and this placement. I'll put in a shorthand here, A, because I'm comfortable enough drawing wolves at this point that, you know, I'm going to trust some of my judgment. And B, I think it's fairly accurate just measurement-wise. There's a reason that reference is so small, by the way. It helps me look at things from a very bird's-eye perspective, in which case it's difficult to get the small things wrong. You know, this curve over here, I always forget to put it in my sketchbook. I always wonder why things don't look exactly the way that I remember them. Because when I do my sketchbook work, I very seldom look at reference. So oftentimes I don't actually go back and check exactly what I missed. I expect myself to just do it later on. Also, look at your negatives, man. Your negatives are going to be good. Because basically, I'm going to be drawing this entire wolf as a giant wolf cube. So in that respect, people are not going to think wolf unless I get something wolf-like. Otherwise, it betrays the entire form. Trade me. So in that respect, I'm going to actually get this somewhat accurate, at least this portion. And everything else, I couldn't give a fuck. Everything else is fine. So we'll start here. It's already looking pretty wolfine, pretty lupine. Is that how you say it? Lupine? Is lupine wolf or is that fox? If you had some ideas, I'd love to hear them. Yeah, cool. I like design crits, man. I get design crits from you and like maybe Angevir a little bit, but I don't get to like design crit anybody these days because nobody designs shit anymore. Everybody just draws from reference. He said as he draws from reference. But to be fair, I'm doing reference modification, so you can't touch me. Get out of my face. Yeah, but we look at them. How about that? Right? Looking a little bit stylized, but not too bad. And by stylized, I mean anatomically inaccurate. But who's counting? Who's really taking the change at least? Who's really taking that little difference? All right, so we'll throw in some little marks over here. And now is the time for your integration, right? Your integration with your idea. So we have enough groundwork for this to potentially be feasible. But let's get some ideas out there just to kind of bring it down back into reality. So I had this cube notion, so I'm going to bring it a little bit into reality here. So I'm going to slightly bring it in on those little angles right over there. I can even consider throwing in just some additional form over here. I'm gonna throw this line in here just as a break. It could be a break of like value, it could be a break of color, but just a notion of having some sort of change right there. Because I can build off of the existing elements on the wolf itself to kind of make this somewhat work, if this is even possible to pull off. It's very possible that certain ideas are just not going to work out. I'm gonna raise everything ever so slightly because I want some more real estate right underneath. Thanks for the compliment on the wolves. I enjoy wolves. Wolves are fun. So I need to consider what I want to lose, right? Like, do I want to chamfer this edge over here to give me that slight little, very typical gesture when it comes to drawing legs, or do I just keep it nice and flat? Really depends. Depends on what I want to go for. But I'm gonna say I'll stick with this for the time being. I think that's perfectly fine. You know, Bob's your uncle. Alright, so what do we do immediately next? What's my value right now looking like? We're pretty much deep. We're deep and dark and fantasy right now. So we want to maybe push that a bit more in a couple of strokes. So before we do that, let's quickly establish some general notions of temperature and value. Again, when you do these kind of strokes over here, what are you actually doing? What are you actually doing? What the fuck are you doing? So you're trying to get just a basic idea of what the temperature of this area is going to be, and also the relative ideas of a value, right? So it doesn't matter too much exactly what you pick, as long as you get the general temperature right. So in design, in general, what you care about is just the minimum requirement to make your stage work, to make that particular stage work. Doing anything more, you're costing yourself time, which sucks for you, because you want to have as much time as possible to make changes, to make modifications. Being deliberate and being quick and being effective, those are all hand in hand very important things to consider. Let's get a general value. So now I'm right over there for my darks. Let's establish a separation of light and dark. Not too much, because the form is spherical, so not too much. But it's not spherical, but it's rounded. So how about that much for my halftone, and I'll build off of that. So we'll quickly start painting on top of that, and I'm just gonna quickly round out some shapes. There. So arguments can be made, say, hey, why didn't you put those eyes in, man? That's a good landmark. It's correct, it is correctly a very good landmark, right? It's a very, very important landmark. However, very important thing to kind of consider here, the really important thing to consider is that I'm painting in one layer. One layer implies the fact that I cannot have the liberty of just making an arbitrary change right there. It's actually really important to me that I order things in a way that is very conducive to the output here. So if I put in those lines first and I put in these strokes right now, what's going to inevitably happen is that these strokes are going to overlap with my occlusions or with my darks, and I'm going to end up with poor edges. So it's just a structuring thing. You put the base first and then you put the occlusions in. Just because I'm working on one layer, I realize what that means. But again, if you guys were able to, or rather you guys do this yourself, you'll realize that this is actually a legitimate concern. How you order things is really going to matter. Maybe not if you use multiple layers, then you can just kind of shift the layers around. You don't have to do it. Let's make an investment here. All right. If I had more time, I would paint more floof. Time is important. It's true. More time equals more floof. Canvas, how's it going, man? Great job on that wolf, man. Great job. You want to post that in the chat? Show people? Canvas did the wolf with me yesterday, and it was fan-fucking-tastic. Really, really good job. I want to make a couple of statements here. So there's going to be some invested ideas right now. Number one is, do I want to saturate my warms? And the answer, I think, is going to be no. I'm going to leave my warms somewhat desaturated. And number two is, how am I going to show my light on this piece? Because you can actually attribute a certain type of edge to your lights, and you can keep that logic throughout the entire piece. We learned this from a great artist called John Lariva not that long ago, right? So you can really attribute something and make it kind of your style, right? To make it, because ultimately, what is the notion of style that we talked about, right? The notion is that we want to have these selective interpretations or exaggerations of the fundamentals. That's how we kind of show, okay, well, this work is my work. Right, this work is my work, this work is your work. That's how we show that. So that's one of his exaggerations, is he will selectively go in there. Some notion of a base value is actually important here, because the bleed through is actually going to come back to bite me in the ass. So I'm going to throw in a warm base right over here, just for the bleed throughs. God has been pog lately. It's been pretty pog. Pog is accurate. Also, let's not be too worrisome right now. Like I said, none of these values are supposed to be the final value. So again, don't jump the gun with these kind of paintings. Just get that read in there first of all. I mean, that's why we're doing this right now. I'm not doing this to show you how good the colors are on the piece in this particular epoch. The idea is I want to show you, oh, look at that separation of light and dark. It's clearly a wolf because separation respects the wolfy idea. Right? That's what I really cared about. That's what I really care about. And also, you see me slightly exaggerating some of the proportions. That's perfectly fine because I want to sell the read, so I'm exaggerating features. I don't care too much even about the overall, the value range on this piece at this moment. All I care about at this particular notion right now, in this particular point of time, all I really care about is getting good shape, right? Getting good relative value and maintaining temperature. Those are my three major concerns at this stage. And it really depends on how you want to consider your piece and what your concerns are going to be. Most of the time I would always argue, just choose the path that is most conducive to your design process. And this could depend on what your strengths are, right? So a lot of people, in fact the majority of people will design with line, but I've seen artists that don't design with line. Shape Carver is a good example. Shape Carver, aka, what's his name? Sean something? Scott something? It's Scott something, isn't it? Shape Carver's real name? I just know his IG, or not IGN, but his online pseudonym. There you go. Look at that link that Canvas posts, really good. Scott Flanders, there you go. I remember this now because I thought it was like Ned Flanders. Yeah, Scott Flanders. Pick ours up. Higgity Pog artist right there, very good at what he does. I'm gonna mark this nose really strongly because it matters to me. It matters that the nose strong sort of signature. Now I can put in some notion of how those eyes are gonna be designed. And now we already know he's gonna be a good boy because we have some information about that already in the scene. I'm gonna have to make a slight correction. Something that I always have to kind of watch out for when I draw puppers is that lower jaw on dogs. It's so low profile. Like, it doesn't occupy nearly as much as you'd think in the majority of circumstances. So I'm actually gonna just use what used to be my upper jaw, and I'm gonna co-opt it and use it as my entire muzzle right now, because it's actually really low profile. It's worth like thinking about because everything is different. Like, all creatures have like a telltale signs. They have particular notions about them that really make it what it is. Like, I was drawing a lion earlier this stream, just as a sketch, and there's certain things in there that made it look like a lion, right? I mean, the sketch itself was pretty garbage, but it certainly looked like a lion. They're not going to mistake that idea because there are particular things that are really important to consider there. Let me pause the timer. So when you draw the wolf, you draw wolves in general, right? This is kind of the gestural idea that you deal with, okay? So you start with something like something semi-spherical, right? And this is the idea that you go with. So I used to do it this way, and if you do it this way, stop doing it this way, it's wrong. Don't make a break like that. Don't make a super break like that, because I used to draw wolves like this, and that's a real problem doing it this way. First of all, it's horrendously stiff, and second of all, it's not even accurate. It's very inaccurate. Alright? So here's where we start again. So what we want to do here, we want to go and have a very gradual transition to that start over there, and we want to bring the same thing back. So we want this gesture. That's way more accurate. This gesture. And now the most important thing, when you put the break in the muzzle, very tempting to do this. But when you do this, it looks wrong because it's really low. It's really low. It's around there is where you actually find it. And then you can just complete the drawing, right? You know, something that's pretty important when you draw like wolves, when you draw animals, when you draw basically anything. It's a level of difficulty that you can encounter while you do these things. It's pretty important to consider because certain things like wolves, horses, lions, tigers, cats, those are really easy to draw. Oh, I'm sorry, those are really difficult. That's the opposite of what I said. The reason is because we're really used to looking at them, you know? Really used to looking at them in general. The wolves are beautiful. I like studying them. Stuff like that. I mean, you're gonna get the basic idea, right? Looks a bit more foxy the way I drew it, but that's what I think about in terms of like the general gesture of the wolf's head. Also, when you're showing people stuff, don't do it on a different layer. Hog Dog, Haley, good to see you. Mooncrest, good to see you as well. Hopefully you're having a good day. You're gonna be seeing me do something pretty ridiculous with this piece right now, but hopefully you forgive me for this gross sin I'm about to commit. SS Jets STC, my favorite human being. How's it going, buddy? So what's happening over here? I have this sort of floofy tummy right there, but I am not going to be drawing this very severely. What is that, Jets? I'm not gonna be drawing this very accurately because I'm gonna be drawing this as a big cube, and you can't stop me. I'm sorry, I mean, you had your chance, but you can't stop me. I'm gonna be drawing this as a cube. It's gonna be a cubed wolf. It's gonna be a big old chunky wolf cube. It's gonna happen right now. So I'm gonna draw a big cube. That's basically what's happening. Big wolf cube. And we're gonna really up the chunk factor. It's gonna be uber chunky. I was told there would be floof in the stream. Who told you there was gonna be floof? Were you in here all this time? Not saying anything, you rat shit. So it really depends. So this is my idea, right? This is like the this is my idea. It's a fucking wolf cube. Alright, that's basically the in and out of it. Now how I make this work is gonna really depend on what I can manage here. Right? How much do I want to show? How much do I want to leave? It's gonna be really up to me. I do want to put some notions of feedies in there. I do want to put the little feedies in there, I think. Definitely do. James plays too much Minecraft. Get out of my room, I'm playing Minecraft. I actually don't. I really despise Minecraft these days. I went back to try and play it quite recently. And not quite recently, it was maybe a year ago. But yeah, I just didn't like it. It looked super janky. I didn't like how it controlled. I wasn't having fun. I just wanted to build and fucking kept getting blown up and shit. It was really annoying. So I just stopped playing because I got super salty. Which is unique because I don't usually get to ragey with video games. I'm actually quite a bastion of equanimity. Noob. Alright, you got me. Got me good there. Okay, can we draw some shapes, please? Can we draw some shapes? Shut up, Panda. Let's draw some shapes, alright? Let's draw this little shape right there. What is this depicting, man? Depicting that tubular idea on that little neck over there. But you see, what are we trying to do over here with all these strokes? We're not trying to establish anything except for that overall read in terms of shape and some amount of difference in value. Make note of the idea that I said difference in value. We're not establishing final values at all at this moment. We're just kind of showing you what's going to happen. Not just showing you, because, you know, you're not drawing this, I'm drawing this, right? So I'm showing myself. And you'll find yourself doing a lot of these kind of things, right? What about the notion of an underpainting in just drawing in general? What's an underpainting for? Because clearly you could just say, well, shit, you know, if you're gonna draw a face, why don't you just draw the face? Why are you spending all this time putting green and stuff on the face? But the idea is it really affects so many levels of that paint. The first thing, the most important thing, is it makes it way more consistent, right? Because when you have the underpainting, when you have the liberty of just thinking about value, shape arrangement, relativeness, proportions, when you have the liberty of just thinking things one at a time, your chance of success for the piece goes dramatically higher, right? When you're able to just simplify things and say, you know what, I don't give a shit about the color, I don't care about, you know, specific notions of final value. All I care about right now is I just want to get an interesting shape. I just want to get clear depictions of separation, of light and dark. That's all I care about. Sorry, where's the rep for this? Oh, my bad. Am I drawing it? Sorry about that. If you guys are new here, by the way, if any of you rapscallions are new to the stream, this is a study stream, usually a group study stream. So you are more than, oh my god, that's just giant dicks. People are just drawing massive cock on my Discord. Shout out to Vloopy on my Discord. And Vital DPM. They do not pull back on their on their dick drawings. Jesus, do people actually have that many veins? I don't think that's actually, that's not anatomically correct. I would credit, but again, it's not pitch friendly. Cho, how's it going, buddy? I'm gonna try and find this for you really quick. This is, oh, there it is. Cool. I used some macro trickery right there. Apparently Discord doesn't like that. Open file location, do it from there. Alright, it's fine with that. I used to love playing creative mode while listening to horror audiobooks. Survival really was never my thing because I didn't have Xbox Live. I played Minecraft Alpha. That's how much of a fucking nerd I am. I played Minecraft. I got moderator on several servers on Minecraft Alpha. I used to make scale replicas of the buildings from Lord of the Rings. That was my thing. That's what I was quote unquote known for in a server of like 15 people. Actually, there was a lot more than that, but it doesn't make it any less lame. Okay, so get the general read. How's it going, Cho? How's it going, buddy? Hopefully you're having a good day. Miss you. Miss your soft, subtle touch. Your warm embrace. Alright, so we need to quickly put in some strokes. Alright, a couple of things need to be done. It's good, gotta stay up to do some work I brought home.
Oh, fuck.
Oh shit, let me
I can't
give you
believe
some
you've done this.
company then. La Moriarty, welcome, you devious fiend. So get that read in there, right? That's actually why we're doing this. So if you're gonna do it for that reason, let's just actually do it. You know, just actually do it. If you're gonna do it for that reason, we do it. So basically, I am making a gambit right there. You ever played chess? There's some gambits in chess that are pretty sick that I could never pull off. You know, I watched a bunch of chess theory, at least I used to, but my rating never went above like 1,300. I'm so bad at the game. Like, I will read about a bunch of openings and stuff like that, and when it comes down to actually put the cards on the table, I'll just do some random fucking move hoping that I'm facing somebody that's way, way stupider than I am, and they school me. They school me hard. Feels bad, but you know, that's life sometimes. Don't underestimate your opponents. I'm sure Sun Tzu said that or some shit. He actually didn't say that. What Sun Tzu said about victory is that you must know yourself, know your enemy, know your battlefield, and then victory is assured. I played chess in high school. If I could get people to play at my pace, I won more than I lost. To play at your pace, like you would just like time them out. What's the patented show strategy? You get really buff, and then you just you flex on them hard enough that you get scared of you. Look at that top lane. Are you kidding me with that top lane right there? It's sick. So here we have a little bit of a design problem because I'm drawing a big fucking cube, and that's an issue. Mainly because of the fact that the amount of variance that I have in my shapes, in my outside contours, is being severely limited. Also, I need to stop my timer. There you go. So we need to make up for this with a bunch of things. So I'm going to make up for this with the following. I'm going to throw in reflected blues from the snow. I'm going to throw in a bunch of local color variations, more than you see on the reference. A bunch of variations towards green and towards orange. I'm going to throw some tail in the background to break the silhouette. And I'm going to add some amount of slight value variation to make it a bit more interesting. And that's my idea. That's how I'm going to interpret it. So, because again, it's a design problem right now. Because, you know, just saying wolf cube is not going to give you a good piece, right? You just can't just mutter it under your breath and hopefully you get a good piece out of it. So really important to kind of think about, how do I tackle this idea? Because I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's not a good idea, but it's not a bad idea. So how do we bring that into the fore, right? Also at this point, I need to do some slight spring cleaning with my shapes right there, because again, not fully showing you what you need to be seeing, which is beautiful, beautiful side. Because every little change in value, every little modification you make needs to substantiate your light source, right? Because we're painting with realism, painting with the idea of realism. I know the rules aren't cubey, they aren't cubey realistically, but that's a little bit of a thing that you need to consider, because when people say, oh, I want to have stylistic artwork, most of the time they mean stylization in terms of the way that you kind of portray your edges and your proportion. But when it comes down to lighting, nobody wants unrealistic lighting, because that kind of kills a piece, it kills the dead. So it's worth thinking about. Also, that's a nice little shape right there, I like it. But it's worth thinking about, like, exactly why you're gonna do this. What do you expect to gain out of this particular stage? And what's important? Right over there, we're getting a little bit of a read. We're going a little bit more Vulpine with this little thing. Also, good thing to note over here for me, as with my particular process, is that I don't use multiple layers, so I'm gonna have to periodically go in here and slightly adjust the way my lines are, just so that I don't have these harsh lines just bearing down on my piece. Because I don't need them to maintain the form. I don't need those lines. They can fuck off. I'm fine. Okay, so I'm going to amplify a couple of things over here, but let's first establish some locals. So I'm going back and forth. I'm not sticking to one particular portion of the piece. I'm not really interested in doing that. So here's how we interpolate with color. So we grab that local value, because the value itself is okay. I mean, I could maybe exaggerate this light all around the cube, maybe over there. I could have a light kind of running through, something like a middling core shadow. I'm sorry, like a middling light right there in the middle. But then I need to add some variation to this. So I'll sample this value over here. I get the local right there, and I can play with it. I can play with the hue of it. Let's make it a bit redder. So I have, well, that's the local right there. Let's make it redder. Throw a little bit of saturation on there, and I get this lovely value over there. So this is going to be the idea moving forward. So maybe not this particular value, this particular color. That's the idea. So that prevents me from breaking the form. So let's say I had a much more established idea, much more established values in this particular piece already. That'll prevent me from breaking the value scheme. That's really important for me to not break the value scheme, because ultimately it's realism, right? It's at least some notion of realism. What's realism founded on? Well, it's good proportions, good values, good shapes, so good value in the little drop-down list. That's what we're considering right now. Let's throw in a bunch of highlights on the edge of this. Let's throw in some diffraction. Is this diffraction? No, it's Fresnel. It's Fresnel effect, right? Towards the edge. I mean, I could be wrong in both regards, but I'm just going to pretend I know what I'm talking about. Same thing down here. Throw some worms down there. Some worm variation. Color noting is what this is sometimes called. It's not really color noting, to be honest. Not the true form of it. True form of it is you exaggerate temperatures with very, very strong distinct strokes. But it's something like that. Something like color noting. Because for you purists out there that know what that means. Similar to that. Okay, well, Operation Wolf Cube is actually heading into quite a decent direction right there. I want to throw in that tail right there, but I want it to be a little bit convincing. It seems very unconvincing in the reference, so we'll just exaggerate it a little bit more. I'm not going to follow the reference perfectly on this one. I really want to maintain that contour, by the way. I want to maintain this little edge. I'll exaggerate that edge in a second, but let's just grab some surrounding value there. Let's see how that looks. Is it convincing as a wolf's tail? I think it's decent. Maybe you could go a bit lower, you know? Go a bit lower. We'll just redouble up that shape that we just drew. I use a bunch of selection tool, by the way. Not usually, but it's a quick way of kind of putting an idea down. Yeah, I like that. Cool. Alrighty. Again, really want to develop this form in a way that makes sense. I don't want to blow that out into saturation. That's a mistake, by the way. It's a very easy mistake to commit, and one that I committed for approximately 7 years of painting, which is I always used to desaturate my light sources. Don't do that. You need to be able to justify a decision like that, but it's not automatic. You don't desaturate light sources as you get lighter. That is not a given. Really, really heavily depends what the light source is. Now granted, it can very well be a lot of your sources considered are going to be desaturating because maybe you're painting with artificial light sources, but however, for the most part, or maybe it's overcast sky or something, for the most part, a lot of your light sources, in fact in painting in general, you want to consider a lot of your light sources as saturated, because that's such a free avenue to add such beautiful, beautiful variation to your piece, because that's really what the origin of color comes from, right? I mean, color doesn't just fall from the fucking sky. Color originates from all of these different aspects of light sources. Of course, things have an intrinsic local color to them, right? Things have a local color. Things are red, things are blue, but it's really the beautiful variation happens because of the light sources, because of the diffuse light source, because of the direct light source, because of the bounce light, because of all these various conditions. That's really where it comes from, where the goose comes from, right? So you gotta get the goose. Doesn't color literally fall from the sky? You got me. Fucking dude boomed me right there. You know, I'm doing something that's very, what is it very? It's a very beginner mistake right here, which is I'm being too pretty. I'm being too careful with my shapes there, because things are a lot closer than they seem. That's a very common thing to see in like beginner work, and I'm still a beginner, so it's gonna happen to my work as well. So right now I'm kind of dulling down some of my decisions that I made earlier, because I'm approaching this swift little tiny notion of the final value. Well, not maybe final value, but let's say pre-final, the penultimate value that's going to go here. Also, you see I have this distinct notion of layers. It goes blam, bloom, and then blow. And that's actually done with a very large amount of purpose, because I don't want to be drawing anything that is like, doesn't look like it was meant to be in the piece. This is something that I can suffer from easily. Like, the more tired I get, and I'm pretty tired right now, but the more tired I get, you will see that I get less intentional with my decisions in design. And even in painting, I get less intentional with my strokes. And it's something to worry about, something to be concerned about. But when you're putting something on a painting, you want to have it be somewhat intentional. Like we were doing a bunch of crits yesterday, at the end of it, and some of it was design crit. And people have really good ideas. In fact, your ideas, are probably going to be just about as good as mine, if not way better. And not to say that I'm a great artist, but just to say that, for somebody that can paint regularly, that paints regularly, it doesn't give me any better ideas than you. However, when it comes to bringing those ideas into the fore, or developing them in a way that reflects how good they are, that takes a little bit of time. That takes a little bit of know-how right there. You need to know what you're doing. Because oftentimes, it's portraying it that's a problem, right? It kind of depends on who you are as well. Because some people will argue that ideation is the issue. And indeed it is. It depends on what level we're talking about, right? So after a certain point, your ideas are the only thing that matter, and then it becomes really difficult at a professional level. But I think at a casual, like beginner/intermediate level, I think big thing that prevents you from getting good work out there is not your ideas, your mechanics, your fundamentals. Know what Feng Zhu says? Feng Zhu says that one of the most common issues with beginners is that they try to make their own IP and stuff like that. And it doesn't make any sense trying to make your own IP when you can't even draw to begin with. That seems like it's a harsh thing to say, It's a really harsh thing to say, like, you shouldn't do that because, you're not good enough to do that. Like, as if there's a requisite to dream. I don't think that's true, but there is a requisite to invest time into something that might not necessarily be a good idea. So I think that's what he means, right? Feng Zhu's a little glib. Gotta forgive the boy. The boy, he's like twice my age. That's what he means. And I see this actually really, really often. Really often to people, because I do a lot of crits on my stream. I do a lot of crits off stream. And that's something that I've always wanted to kind of say, but I never say it because it just seems like I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to me, Even still, knowing that professionals have advice like that, even still it doesn't sit right to me. I don't like killing that dream, I want to just keep it going. So what? Maybe it's a shitty drawing. I don't want everybody to invest time into just bad work, but at the same time, don't just not do it, Otherwise, what's going to differentiate you from everybody else? But again, time and place for everything, right? Time and place for everything. Don't go insane. Don't spend your entire time on some insane magnum opus saying that, okay, well, this is going to be the piece that makes me incredible. This is going to be the idea that makes me incredible when, really can't paint. That should be something that should be easier to admit as well. It should be good to admit that you are indeed insufficient in some regard. I think that's a positive thing. I've had somewhat of backlash with that idea in the past, especially on my own stream. People say, oh, you can't say that, man. You can't say better or worse. It's all art, It's all art. It's all, creative expression. There's no right or wrong. And to a certain extent, I do agree with you, I do agree with the idea that it's all creative expression. Everything is still art. But the question is not whether or not it's art or not. It's whether or not it's viable. Right? It's viable is my main concern, because I deal with this, whenever I speak with my own interest in mind, and I want to eventually be a professional. And when it comes down to being a professional, there are certain things. Again, going back to your boy Feng Zhu, in his recent video, he talks about how some people choose. I think he's a little bit too excessive with the way that he words it, but he says they choose immature concepts or immature ideas, which don't really have too much of an impact or too much of a value when it comes to professional work. And to a certain extent, I really agree with him, right? So it really depends on what the intent is, right? On where it's going to go at the end of the day. Because if you're just drawing to have fun with drawing, literally nobody on the surface of the planet that can ever tell you that what you're doing is wrong. But if that is not the case, then suddenly you're operating under different parameters. Right? You're not operating because you want to draw what you want to draw or what you think is right. There suddenly becomes these objective ideas of correct or wrong that you're going to have to contend with, right? I'm going to throw in some warm light from the snow, by the way. But there becomes these objective ideas of what is correct and wrong, and then that's a difficult thing to kind of stomach. Suddenly you can be wrong. Suddenly you can easily be supremely wrong with a lot of things. And I think that's worth considering. That's worth remembering. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's really nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly fine. It's decent, easy. Almost liberating to a certain extent. Maybe I should ask a question more often on my stream, because usually when I get a crit, I just quit it like I was gonna, quitting it for my best impression of professional work. I should ask people what their intention is in terms of like what's the scope of your work. But most people, I feel like the community that has gravitated around me, everybody really cares about the improvement. Everybody really cares about trying to get better. I feel like good people should care about getting better. I would argue, and this is personal opinion, of course. This is no longer objective truths. But I would argue, even personally, the way I get enjoyment out of things is getting better at things. I don't get enjoyment by just doing. But I wouldn't claim to speak for many people with that kind of idea. I'm sure people, and even I have things that I do that I don't actively try to get better at. Right, I try to get better at my craft, which is art. I try to get better at lifting, like my recreational stuff, I guess. I guess ukulele. I play an instrument, maybe not as much. But even then, a lot of stuff. I like his design sense and ideas, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. I would agree. Yeah, he's a little bit polarized, even for me. And I've got like really thick skin, but even for me, some of the stuff he says maybe isn't. It's questionable, very questionable. We'll do that. And I almost like that. Also, I'm making a big commitment here. Like I said, I want to have some saturated idea on this piece, so I'm committing to some beautiful blues on this face right there. So there's a point in this rendering where it's gonna be all right, like it's gonna be okay, and it'll show what you want to show. But for the most part, it's gonna be really problematic. I'm trying to figure out exactly what the contours are. If you don't have very specific ideas of what the form's supposed to be, Meg. thank you for the raid, Meg. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Guys, are not the Meg Animation. Phenomenal artist, a professional in every sense of the word. Excellent work. A lot of stylistic work. Does studies on her stream as well. And if you guys are not familiar with me, my name is Indiana Brodicki. James, I am a study streamer. That's basically all I do. I'm not a professional. I would like to be though, one day. But all I do, just about every single time you catch me online, is I do studies. Would you like to see some work? This is not my usual stream block, so I don't have all that much prepared for you. But hold on, let me just quickly open up some stuff maybe. I can show you. But welcome Moon Kitty, welcome. Is that Seju Repa? Welcome, Meg. Here's some examples. You want to see some community drawings of me? These are all my community things I look like. It's not that inaccurate, I'm going to say that. But here's some stuff that I draw.
Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done
I do portraits, animals, just a whole bunch of stuff. You know, when it comes down to studying art, you want to study just about everything you can. In a very directed fashion, of course, but this is the kind of work that I do. I've been doing a lot of animals lately.
I can't believe you've done this.
And of course, I also love drawing my friends. So that's one of my friends on Twitch. That's Ashley M. Hills right there. Beautiful artist. Absolutely gorgeous. And these are most of my my study work. Want to see some originals? Grab those for you as well. Because usually I'd say, hey, check out the Instagram, you know, but I've been trying to get better at just, just showing the viewer. Just show the viewer what they want to see. Make people. But welcome. If you can get a shout out to Meg, and if you can post anything that you like, you can post your Instagram or what you're working on. I'm more than happy to accommodate. I'll be doing a lot of master studies as well. Strong believer. If you guys don't do master studies, please do master studies. They're really important. Figure out, the fundamentals of appeal. Doing stuff like this, for example. Been doing a lot of studies of Alla Prima oil painters. Pretty fun. I really like to achieve these traditional kinds of effects with my work. Fan of that. Been drawing a couple of streamers as well. You might have spotted Animation. There's Shroud right there. And the Doc. And what was I going to show you? I've already forgotten. Yeah, originals. There you go. I need to show those these days. Actually, I'm doing original work finally. But that's gonna be it for show and tell. By the way, I'm gonna get back to paint. Need to do right now. Here's some wolf stuff. That's I think you saw this one already. Do I need a permit? No, you don't. Just post it directly. Here's some larger scoped things, I guess. I've been drawing these animals with their parents sort of series. These two are favorites in that series. I'm gonna be doing another one, maybe on stream. but these things are very near and dear to my heart. I like them a lot. Thank you, Lusty. Appreciate that. Thank you for the follows as well. We did this today for Halloween. Ah, that's right, Halloween today. Or rather yesterday, because I'm in a different time zone. Let me see. Did God bless the fact that Streamlabs OBS has a chat integrated? Ooh, I like it. Very cool. This is Meg's work. Gorgeous. Really, really cool. I love what you're pushing over here. It's kind of like a demonic satyr kind of thing. You got those goat legs, those deer legs. Nice. Very cute but satanic. I really like the stylization. Very strong work. Your line work reminds me a lot of Greco, you know? I think Greco and you kind of have slightly similar roots. But cool stuff. Handed on the ink thing in a while, so it was fun. Is this traditional? Oh, it might be. Look at those marks. Oh, that's clean then. That's really clean. I thought it was digital on the get-go. Oh no? Okay, never mind. It's still very good. Of course it's good. I mean, just ink? I get you. But fantastic work, and thanks so much for that raid. Very, very kind. Hey, don't worry about it. People, I make the same mistake all the time. I've been drawing mega floofers lately, so this is going to be the floofiest floof that you've ever seen. Very soon. The colors seem a little bit washed out now that I go back to it. Maybe I can improve that in a second. We're just 32 minutes into this painting, but you know, we're gonna... Let's up the floof factor, you know? I feel like we are being rather too safe. Okay, we're gonna up the floof. So what's the fundamental of floof right there? So floof is edge, of course. We want to get a soft edge. I'm gonna solve a couple of issues right before though.
I can't believe you've done
So
this.
we're gonna have to solve a little bit of those value issues because I want to get a good solid read on the lights of this particular image. So you can emphasize a value in two ways. One is you strengthen the value directly, and the second is you contrast it against a darker value or a lighter value depending on what you want to strengthen up. But just doing this will give me a lighter value, right? Because right now this suddenly becomes way, way lighter. Have a good night, Meg. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that raid. Very, very kind of you. Thanks for spreading that love. Do appreciate you. One last time, for you lazy fucks in my community, please go follow Meg if you aren't already. It's basically my stream, but about 15 times better. I did the math. Go check her out. She's a bundle of joy. So we get the darkness in there. Hey, thanks for those bits. I appreciate you. So we get the darkness in there, and now you see that read. I mean, look at the difference right there. You go from there to boom. Now suddenly we have a back. Right? It's strongly determined because it very often can be the case that you have a limited value space on your piece. You just don't have the opportunity to just put infinite amounts of different values. In fact, that's a really bad idea because what really makes your piece look good, what makes your piece look really strong, is the idea that you have variation, but very, very distinct amount of variation. One of the most fundamental design principles of all time is this idea of saying unity with variety. What does that mean? Right? Seems like an opposite. What it means is that you need to have enough different on your canvas. You need to have enough different things for it to be interesting. But if everything is different, nothing is different, right? That's the whole syndrome from Incredibles idea. If everybody's super, nothing is super. So that's an idea right there. You need to have stability, you need to have comfort in the norm, but you should also push the idea of the unknown. So in that respect, in terms of what we were talking about just now, we're talking about the idea of keeping your value space somewhat limited. It's the idea that you don't want to just have every single value in the history of the planet. You don't want to have every single light value everywhere in the piece. You want to keep those things somewhat distinct on your work. You want to have it a little bit stronger, right? So that's why we have this fundamental concept called separation of light and dark, right? What does that mean? That means that the things in my light family are going to be distinct. The things in my dark family are going to be distinct, right? So when you have the overall value space in a piece like this, for example, you'd have something like this. And this is what I talked about when I was first out of the painting, but it was like this. I say maybe that's my darkest dark, that's my second darkest dark, and now this is the key here. There's a jump, right? Second darkest dark. This is not the darkest light. This is my darkest light right there. It doesn't have to be this exaggerated, but this is the overall value hierarchy, if you want to call it that, of the piece. Really, really important to consider that. Because really, when it comes down to the idea that my piece does not have enough contrast, it's this that you're worried about. It's not this, right? It's not the difference between my lightest point, my darkest point. It's the difference between my lightest and darkest. I'm sorry, my lightest light. I'm sorry, my lightest dark and my darkest light. There you go. Confusing, especially if you had as little sleep. I should get a coffee. Maybe I'll do that in a second. But it's this difference. This over here, that's separation of light and dark. SLD right there. Really, really important stuff. That's one of those things, you know, when you figure that out, it's a wow moment. You have a very seldom few of those wow moments, I feel like, when you're learning. Because past the initial, maybe 2 or 3 months, it becomes steady. Hopefully it is steady. But you don't have those eureka moments of, oh my god, I learned this one thing, and then every piece that I did subsequent was 50 times better. That's okay, that's just the nature of things, that's the nature of learning. It's almost like beginner gains, you know? If you guys been on a lifting schedule, get those crazy beginner gains. Alright, sorry about that. I need somebody to give me some coffee, if that's possible. Your lightest dark and your leftist right dark divided by your darkest midtone light. Oh, thanks for being
I can't believe you've done this.
worst to me. Okay, so I'm actually drawing this very intentionally. If you guys are wondering why this is a cube, it's because, well, I said so. And there's a couple of like really cool things we can do with this, right? Because, well, for the most part, we can leave a lot of this quite flat. I'm gonna add just some slight little notions of, oh, what the hell was that? Okay, my nose vanished. I'm gonna add some slight notions over here. And it's a great little thing to think about, which is, what is the origin of color, right? It's really a good example of where color is actually coming from. Because the colors that I'm picking on this piece, these blues and these warms and all of the other ideas, everything can be justified to a certain degree, right? So, for example, I'm putting a red in here. Why is that red happening? Well, that red happening because that's how I'm interpreting the local color of this. Maybe not that red, maybe something like this. A bit better for that. So why is it happening? That's because it's matted fur, which means there's not going to be as much light coming into it. So it's going to resolve into something of the local right there. Local for fur is usually quite warm, and I exaggerate it because color is one of those things that you can really exaggerate on paintings. I'm going to exaggerate it here. I'm going to think about having different kind of levels here because again, because everything is so cubey, I have to again make it more interesting. So I can't just have it a cube and say it's done. You know, either you like it or you don't. So in that respect, I want to slightly make a couple of changes here. The first one is going to be, I'm going to add some more variation in terms of the overall, the ups and downs to it. So I'm going to add these rounded forms ever so slightly. So I don't want enough for it to break the idea of a cube, but I want some idea over here just to kind of show you that, oh, well, there's something going on there, right? So maybe I can use my reference for this because I've not been painting much using my reference, so maybe I can use it for this. Just painted a little bit of breaks right there in between. Something else to kind of consider here that I have not already is that overall length, because that length isn't as, you know, it's way longer than the reference, and the gesture is also a little bit off given the perspective. So I might want to consider changing those two things. And that's specifically why I leave outside contour sometimes unfinished. So this over here, the little edges, I usually keep that quite unfinished because I always want to kind of cut in. I want to give myself the opportunity to do that. And I think that's a positive change right there. I think I like that a lot. We're slowly heading away almost from the cube idea. So I have to think about, you know, do I even want to do this? Like, is this a good idea? Like, are we not going to be peak floof if we do this? I think we can still maintain it, right? So maybe it won't be a cube. Maybe it'll be something like a post box. Also, a secondary thing I want to do here really quickly is I want to bring this entire thing inwards. So this is a fucking dangerous thing to do as well. So it can be a scary thing, but I really encourage you guys that if you see something that you want to change, just don't even hesitate, man. Just make that change really, really quickly. So I paint on a single layer. So for me, it's a little bit harder as well to make changes that easily. I'm sure people that use multiple layers, a little bit easier to do this. But again, if you're doing a single layer thing, what I advise you guys doing is don't just move stuff like that. What you do is you copy it and you paste it down. So you have a new layer to work with. and then you can make the adjustment. It sits on itself basically. Then you collapse your layers. That's how I make my adjustments. So I'm gonna throw in just a couple of other things over here. So I want to amplify the effect of the snow. So snow is beautiful, it's cool. It's also gonna reflect, okay? So what's important to realize is that, well, everything is illuminated. Because why is the snow blue and white? Because first of all, it's light. I'm sorry, it's particulate water, right? It's ice, which is going to scatter light very, very like efficiently, which is why it's white in the light portions. And it's blue over here because again, same reason, but now it's reflecting or scattering the blue of the atmosphere. That's a diffused light, right? If you guys are not familiar with diffused light, basically what's happening over here is that the whole hemisphere of the sky around all of this stuff. Oh Jesus, that brush is so slow, my goodness, so slow. But basically the entire sky is around this, right? The hemisphere of the sky, and everything the sky can see is going to get that blue. So top hemisphere is that light source. So the entire top hemisphere, that's a crazy amount of distance, but indeed all of that is going to be a light source. Going to affect the piece. Are you going to participate in Shay Shay's annual project? Yeah, I actually fully intend to. Is there a deadline for that, by the way? Because you would know. Is there a deadline for that competition? Shay Shay is an artist friend of ours, for context. Also, thanks for that follow, by the way, A-Loops. Kind of you. Appreciate that. Doing a quick little study right now. Also, we're talking about floof, right? So floof comes from the softness. So there are a couple of things that I kind of want to do here. That's going to be fairly important. The first thing is I'm going to defocus certain areas. There are a bunch of ways to defocus, because what defocus certainly means is that you're just going to soften up the edge quite uniformly. So you can do that via painting, or you could just do this, which is the most heavy-handed way of doing it. The simple Gaussian blur. We just Gauss blur some slight areas over here. And get that manual sort of defocusing. So you see how that immediately brings it slightly softer. Now the mistake over here would be to do something like that over here. That's a mistake right there. That's why it looks so off. It's because that's an area of focus. You're gonna be looking there. But I'm sort of artificially kind of recreating what it would look like. It's kinda to see this in real life. So depth of field is a thing. So they're gonna FOV slider the fuck out of this wolf. Alright, I'm gonna deal with his eyes right now because again, I want a good solid read. Because again, now that I've said that this is gonna be a focal point, it was kind of obvious to begin with. Because it's a face, and face is a focal point, usually speaking. Now that I've said that, I want to actually get these eyes looking fairly okay. So now is the time that I actually increase the size of my reference. If you guys have noticed, reference has been quite small, and that's how I usually work. It's because of the fact that I want to kind of just get some larger elements out of the way when I paint reference. And that's what I did at the initial. And now I can make some slightly more committed ideas. So how much I want to kind of bring this into reality is going to be a good question. Because right now, I mean, it reads wolf. It does not read that wolf. For it to read this wolf, I've got to make a couple of changes. What are those changes? The changes that are going to be like this. We're going to change front right here. And down. Or just slightly. I'm going to bring this little eye over here as well. Bring that to the left. I get a distinctive, a little bit more of that wolfy read. So once you start putting them together throughout next summer, so this winter. Oh, you can do multiple cards? That's kind of cool. Sorry about that noise, by the way. Stuff happening in my room right now. Well, that's the idea. Working with. Gonna bring it a little bit more closer to reality. These eyes are gonna be pretty important to do, so I'm gonna put some ideas or some information in here that I think is gonna be accurate. So again, what am I missing here to kind of get this into completion? Dan, welcome, man. So a little bit of a curve right there. That's important. Slight little curve. And again, what's fundamental about this eye? What is the abstract variation of the eye? So on the left-hand side, I have a slight increase in value. It goes warmer. It goes saturated. I get a value like this most likely on that side. So if I want to increase the saturation, I have the opportunity to do so again to kind of amp the effect. And I'm going to choose not to do that. On the right side, I have darker, better. Why not copying the reference image into a new layer and play with the opacity, see if your painting matches where the eyes, nose are placed? Because it's a little bit too heavy-handed of a strategy right there. I kind of really want to keep... I'm not really interested in getting perfect trace accuracy, because if I wanted to do that I could. But I'm just interested in just a slight amount of feature. Just a bit amount of feature translation, that's all I care about. So it's perfectly possible, right? If I really cared about getting exact ideas. But I'm not concerned about that right now, especially for the fact that at the end of the day, this is not going to be anything but a study. So I always want to train different aspects of what I try to learn in the studies, so it's not going to serve my purpose. But of course, if at all, for example, I did that exact same thing for some personal work that I'll show you later on in the stream, hopefully. But I had to quickly get a notion of a whale on my canvas, and that's exactly what I did. Did a quick transfer. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think the notion of correct or wrong really, really depends, always, what your intention is. Is it serving my intention? If it's not, then I usually don't do it. At least I try not to. But yeah, definitely a way that we could do it. But we're not going to because of the mentioned reasons. Real life human interactions? I know, disgusting, right? I think on Twitch you'll find me as somebody that's going to be the most for just straight tracing a lot of stuff. Because again, I care more about design and efficiency than a lot of people, but when it comes down to learning, because this is just a study, right? That's what it is. You always do stuff for the intended purpose. When you're learning form, for example, when you're learning how to sketch, for instance, you would never ever do any transfer stuff, because it doesn't serve what you're trying to do, right? Because all that sketching is supposed to go ultimately into the idea of, well, you want to get better at designing, but it gets better at designing by straight proportion transfer. It doesn't work. Because it's not teaching you anything. Blue on there. There you go. I like how that looks. Get some couple more features in here.
Fuck. I can't believe you've done this.
Because again, you don't need that much really to get a read. Right? There are some key elements that you want to get out of the way, some key little features, some little points of interest. So just kind of slowly building up into my piece. So for example, we have this little light value that goes around the nose, goes slightly into the nose right here. Build that up slightly, just a little bit of eye candy. People are looking for it. And again, kind of manipulate the shape a little bit to get a better read around the mouth. Look at how low profile that mouth is. It's really beautiful. And Alia, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. Around there. And around lips, maybe around here.
Oh, fuck.
Most of the time I really want to
Can't
try
believe you've done this.
and use as much as I can of the existing value. It can be really tempting, you know, when you do work, just in general, to add and add and add and add, especially because we're working digitally, right? So we don't have any restriction, we can just keep adding and then nothing happens. But what's really important to kind of realize is that, I mean, paintings aren't that complex, generally speaking, in terms of their constituents. Like every painting is a very gestalt thing where it's way more than the sum of its parts, but most of the time what's really important to realize is that it's really a bunch of very simple elements. So simplifying is never a bad idea. In fact, it's something you should actively be looking to do at every single stage. Really, really important to simplify. It's going to get you good results. Really, really good results come from simplification. Roxanica? Is that? Roxanica, maybe? That's the fall, I appreciate that. Dude, Tefram, good to see you, man. It's been a while. How's it going, buddy? We don't get to talk to Tefram too often. It's coming on nicely. Thanks, dude. Appreciate that. Tefram's a solid artist. Rox is fine. Rox it is. You got it. So I have a bunch of existing things. So you see, my mouse isn't going here at all. I'm just working with existing right now because I have some decent things on my canvas. Right now I'm just going to work on trying to get those shaped appropriately, trying to get the biggest kind of effect from those particular decisions, and then I'll go on and I'll make some more decisions later on to kind of finish the piece off. But for now, I think I have ample amounts of decisions already on the canvas that I can just continue. I can just refocus, just reorder things, and then eventually kind of get a better read what I already have. So just restructuring the shape, reorganizing things. That's basically what we're doing right now. Of course, most importantly, for the floof factor, because that's really what we're trying to get at in this piece, we are addressing the edges. Because I really like to paint everything with a very, very hard edge. It's a personal preference. You'll find artists go from hard to soft or soft to hard. It really depends on what they care about, what they prioritize in their workflow. I really like to go from hard to soft, so for me, softening is going to be the major key. Most people think from the other way around. What they will be doing right now is they will be trying to selectively harden stuff up. I'm doing the opposite. I'm selectively softening things up. And you would think that results in like the same kind of looking painting, but you would be wrong. It doesn't, because I've created so many people that work on the opposite workflow. It's not really the same. It does come with a consequence. Sorry about that. That's a win right there. It does actually come with a consequence. So if you want to see an artist that does everything quite softly and then goes to hard, look up Marco Bucci. The other way around, goes very, very hard and goes to soft. Look up basically any Alla Prima oil painter. So look up John Lariva, for example. We've studied a fair amount of Lariva in the past. He's a great artist. Larriva, fantastic artist. So that's from the master studies we've been doing. I really do enjoy doing master studies. Really important to me to get out of the way. And it can be somewhat a little bit of a challenge, you know, especially when you first start painting. You're like,
Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this.
why would I ever paint for somebody else's work? Why do I want to paint from other people's drawings? You know, I want to paint my own drawings. But really, that's not what it is about. It's not about that. It's about trying to get understanding of why certain things work. Because right now, we're not the first artists in the history of ever, right? We're not the first people to make decisions. We're not the first people to draw stuff. People that came before, they have spent a lifetime of study and learning to get better at this idea. A lot to learn from them. A lot to learn. And it'll save you a bunch of time. That's what's really, really important to realize. It'll save you so much time. A lot of people ask me, like, well, hey, well, why are you so much better now? Because, you know, you started when I started and now you're better than me. Or, you know, you started when I was already a good artist and now you're as good as me. But I attribute a lot of that to the fact that I do a lot of time. I spend a lot of time to study master painters. It's been very, very useful for me. There's a couple of worries in there that can be addressed. The first one that I see very often is the fact that people are worried the fact that they're not going to be original with their work. That's not the point, you know? Your work's always going to be your work, and you can't really stop it from being your work. You're not trying to pass somebody else's work off as your own. You're trying to figure out what the fundamental is, right? Figure out why certain things look a certain way, why they look so effective. These sorts of ideas. Might have to mute, by the way. Might be a little bit annoying. We'll see what we need to do. Because right now people are cleaning the house. It's spring cleaning time. This isn't bothering you? Okay, well if that's the case then I can just continue. Right over there. Oh, look at how cute he is. It's adorable. So again, it's really a big question of just restructuring stuff. And what was I saying earlier about master studies, right? Yeah, I wouldn't be afraid. I would never be afraid of doing a master study. It's only going to be benefiting you. It's very, very difficult to become, at least initially, I guess, somebody else's artist or becoming not the artist that you're supposed to be. Sorry about that, had to mute. But yeah, right now, as you see again, still what I'm doing over here is I'm not really adding too much to the overall value scheme of the piece. All I'm really doing over here, and you can hear that in the background by the way, I'm sorry about that. It'll go in like, it'll It'll be gone in a few minutes. That's the tiles being scrubbed right there. But yeah, what was I saying? I'm not really adding too much in the color space in this piece. I'm not adding too much in terms of the value. All I'm doing is I'm restructuring what exists on the canvas. That's really all I'm doing. Trying to make some interesting marks over here. You so cute. Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. That's nice of you to say. I like to think so. I'm going to slightly make some adjustments with the overall value. Make sure my reads are nice and strong. We should be good though. Here's that Dragon Master study that I tried to paint on a 300 by 300 canvas, even though it serves a grand memory for me in my art journey. Did I remember that day? You did pretty well. So Jets has done quite a few studies with me offline, because he's a good buddy of mine. Yeah, he's been one of those people, actually one of the few people that I know in this community that is very consistently working. And also the fact that he started painting, like I witnessed his first painting, his second painting, his third painting, so he started painting when I knew him. It's been really kind of cool looking at his journey. You should post that portrait you just did, Jets. How long have you been painting now? What's it been, what, 4 or 5 months? But you made some staggering progress. I don't know if that was a good idea what I just did. I like that stroke. I don't like the strokes that follow it. But this man has been doing some really, really good jobs. Very proud of him. How about that? Just a little bit of an amp for the value. Really take note of the fact that I'm not doing this with my light. I'm not painting these side white, because that's going to kill my temperature. I'm making a very marked effort to maintain my temperature very, very specifically. Really, really important to do so. Popper, how's it going, Tape Moose? Indeed. Little pupper right there. Cute little pupper. Going 11 months. Really? Oh yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense to me. Has been a while, hasn't it, Jetsu? How about that? Trying to make a couple of decisions here. Grab this value over here, this kind of light value. I dig it. It's cool. I'm gonna use that for a couple of things. Again, it's really about kind of using what you have, right? You kind of establish what you generally want to see, and then you use it to the best ability of which you're gonna kind of manage at that point. Grab what you want to see and then use it. 11 months, huh? Not bad at all, Jets. And of course, the edge needs to be respected a bit here, because ultimately we're just drawing a cubey wolf. That's the genesis of this whole piece. We're just drawing a wolf that looks like a cube. Do you read for study? All the time, yeah, all the time. Sometimes I'm forced to, and sometimes I choose to. Like some stuff I actually have the physical books of, so I have to read them. Like for instance, I have a couple of Loomis books, physical copies of them, that I will read every now and again. Basically every time the power goes out, I kind of open it and I'll sketch and I'll kind of read a couple of pages while I'm sketching. That sort of stuff is not entirely uncommon, especially recently. But there are some ridiculous tomes of information right there that can be easily missed. I have a couple of special things planned to commemorate. Are you celebrating? Might get this read a little bit better. A couple of things to be done over there. I don't need to have the bottom this dark. Let's cut that darkness a little bit. And I really want to get a nice little shape going on here. Let's get those shapes going on. Brush over here. Again, you see, I'm not trying to get more value in here. I'm just restructuring things. I'm trying to let the brush sort of speak for itself here. I'm not making straight marks anymore. I'm doing these kind of marks now. Because right now I'm heading towards the conclusion of the painting. So, so that's why I'm kind of mixing up the way that I do my marks. I want it to be a little bit more random. Not so much celebrating, just to show my thanks to different communities who inspired me. Oh, cool. So that's neat. Yeah, I'm all for that kind of stuff. My first few pieces digitally are just to thank people for support. Also, it's really important to make some very clear decisions on the canvas. So, for example, I'm just going to double down on that shape right there because I really like it. It's a cool shape. If you're wondering what a shape is, by the way, if anybody's new to drawing, if anybody says the word shape to you, what a shape generally is, it's just a confined 2D object to represent a three-dimensional form. That's what a shape is. So you can call this nose a shape, but you can also call this little patch of light also a shape, because they're both saying a couple of things. Like this shape over here shows me the overall proportion of the nose and tells me that it's locally dark. The shape over here shows me the outside contour, side, right underneath the zygomatic bone of the wolf, and it's light telling me that the light's coming from the right hand side. It is like that. So that's basically what we're kind of dealing with. So everything has a purpose, everything is done for a reason. And we can justify it if we choose to. But it's probably important that we justify certain things. Is that affecting the read there? I think I like the way that it is. I didn't realize how thick Bridgman's book was when I audited it. Bridgman's is a fucking good book as well. It's really good. I want to maybe create slightly more flatter shapes here. Because sometimes what happens is that your read can be severely affected by the fact that you use way too much texture. Sometimes just nice flat shapes is what I'm looking for. I gave somebody this crit, I think earlier this week. But it's an important one. Very easily get lost in a soupy amount of texture. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to get lost in that sauce. Bridgman is so hard to read for my pea brain. I mean, you can have the same information presented in different ways, right, or different manners. It's not like Bridgman invented drawing, so a lot you can learn, which is probably going to be the same thing, but in different contexts. But I would advise always reading the original material if you can. It does definitely help not having it paraphrased, because you could have different takeaways. But again, remember, none of this is a complete necessity, so if it's actively impeding your progress, then just don't do it. Always work results oriented. If it's giving you results, don't stop doing it. If it's not giving you results, do something else. So I really think about my learning, at least. Like, of course, there's a buffering idea in there. There's a buffering idea in there which says that, okay, well, don't just stick with something for 2 seconds and then shift it to something else. Always give it time for the ideas to settle. Give some time for that idea. Otherwise, beyond that, it doesn't matter. Not working out, then just toss it. Like, for instance, there are a few things that I've tried to do personally that have never worked out, that I just stopped doing. One of the biggest ones was I tried to make the zonal idea of color on the face. I tried to make that work for about 3 weeks, and it just wasn't working on my pieces, so I just stopped doing it. I stopped doing it entirely. I've actually recently brought that back, that idea, but I hated doing it initially, so I just stopped doing it. I learned line proportion, so proportion using line, from Jonathan Hardesty for a course, and I just hated using line so much that I stopped using line. I did it a different way. So he taught a particular method to do measurement, and I adapted that method to my own use, as opposed to trying to learn how to use line suddenly. Because unfortunately, I took that course at a very bad time. I took that course when I hadn't done any line drawing in like months. Hello, Nice Wolf. How's it going, Selmer? You beautiful bean. Okay, so we have the wolf read. We're an hour into the painting. We could stop right now if you wanted to. Is there anything else that you would add to this painting? Like, is there anything that you would kind of make a statement on to kind of amplify the read, maybe, or the idea? I want to throw in a bounce light, I think. I want to throw in a bounce light from the... Also, what's funny is that this actually takes me more time to draw than to actually draw the wolf directly. Because there's a bunch of design ideas I need to go here. But yeah, what was I saying? We have to add in a bounce light from that round right there. That's going to be important to put in. Want to maybe play with the value a little bit. Looks so good. Alright. Drink coffee real quick. Okay, I'm gonna do a couple of things here. I'm gonna just try them out. I think that's a good idea. Maintain the gesture. Alternatively, you can do something like this, you know, just really amp up the flute factor. Like that, maybe a slopey form. Oh my god. Maybe that's better. Is that better or worse? Stuff of nightmares right here. I think this is helping the floofiness. What do you think? I think it is actually. I actually kind of like how that looks. It's neat. And you know what it gives me? It gives me an upward facing light. Upward facing plane rather, so I can put that blue. It seems like the wolf's highest values are the wolf's legs. Is that the reflective light on the snow? Well, oh, wait, what are you talking about highest value? You mean right over here? Those values? Some distinct shape in there. Those values are from the light source, Jets. They're directly from the light source. The snow light's coming right over there, right over there. That's downward facing. Like it's filling it slightly. But because of how everything is angled, we're not getting nearly as much from the snow because the light's going right there. Probably reflected in the same way, like that. But this is from the direct light, that's from the sun. The logic is right side planes, or the right side facing planes are the ones that I'm going to get the light and speed. So basically the right of the face, right of the leg, right of the body. The reason that we have a dip here, this little dip, even though you can say, well, this is facing the right, why isn't it getting the light as much? Well, it is getting the light, it's just that the local color of the particular area is darker, so therefore it doesn't get as much of an effect. We're heading to peak cube territory. Cubic wolf? Hell yeah, Solmer. Need a cubic wolf. Actually kind of digging it. There's a lot of things to problem solve here. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm gonna throw some attention to the snow really quickly. What's confusing you, Jets? You wanna talk about it? We can go into like more detail if you like. I don't mind. I see like a purplish shaded part on the leg. That purplish shade, right over there, right over there, right over there, right over there. That's the diffused from the sky. But yeah, the lightest portion is because of the direct light, in this case. The new geometric form of Floofy Cube. It's covering life right now. I feel like this idea could have been executed slightly better, by the way. Maybe I'll do a few more. Few more Floof Cubes. Sorry about that, I had to mute. Okay. Just amping the read a little bit. Doing some fun little things here. I want to slightly play with the lights here. I think I can exaggerate the lights a little bit more because I think the lights themselves are a little bit too safe. A bit too safe on the lighting scheme there. So I didn't do any layer modification for the lights, but I might choose to avoid repainting a bunch of things. I don't think this brush is working there. With this brush, way better. In the future, this will be taught in math classes globally. All hail Linus, the Floof Wolf. All the texture in this work is really helping this fur kind of sell a bit harder. Good. The shadow over here, I don't want to leave it warm. I want to push it further. I want to add a bit of texture there as well. I want to make that edge there. There you go. Okay, you beautiful bean. How's it going, buddy? Good to see ya. How's the day going, buddy? I know that you're in the Europes, so it must be the morning. How'd you sleep? Alright, how's the family? You're doing? Give me the situation. Loka has a special place in our hearts. Basically the stream mascot, right? Man. I'd like to study this more in depth soon. All of the judgments I make about light are always wrong. Well, kind of walk me through the process here. What are you thinking about when you think about the light for this particular piece? Why did we head on the wrong track? Like, why does it jump into bounce light? Because clearly we have a large cast shadow right over there, so that cast shadow has to come from somewhere. I'm sorry, it's a form shadow, but it has to come from somewhere, right? So it has to come from this light source. I'd say that's my primary. And it's consistent across the entire piece, right? The right-facing planes get the light, left-facing planes don't get the light, so therefore the light source, the direct light source, comes from the right side. That's like the simple logic. Got the whole 2 hours? Me too. Me too. That's why I'm streaming in the morning, because if I stay awake for too long, I'm not going to be able to stream. Because I just won't be able to talk. Ladies at work, kids are doing their own thing. I'm being a nerd. Hell yeah, Bloka. Be a nerd. Dude, I actually never watched Lobos before your emotes, but I watched a lot of Lobos since meeting you, and he's really good. I watched him. I watched actually a lot of Dark Souls since this because of that one stupid emote. Happy Hob is another good one. Alright, Wolf Cube is nearly operating at peak capacity. Lobos is pretty decent at the games he plays. Yeah, I saw him doing this really cool challenge of like random items and stuff. I thought that was really neat. Throwing in some blue here. Like it. Gots to go. Have a great stream. Well, thank you for sticking around. That's very kind of you.
I can't believe you've done
And
this.
yeah, cheers. Have a good day, okay? Thanks for the follow as well. That's very kind of you. Already tidy. We can add some amount of surface texture here. And we're reaching peak floof. Peak floof is about to be reached. So we can slowly start to soften up some of these edges to amplify the floofiness, right? Because what is softness if not? Because right now this is my area of focus, right? This is primary, this is secondary, this may be tertiary, but I really want to soften this up. This right here is a problem to me, it's a bit too soft, so I'm going to slightly cut back on that. Maybe even more, maybe I'll paint over it. A little bit too soft. A bit too close to my area of focus. Right over there, that's possible. That's possible. Cube Wolf is operating at about 70% capacity right now. He looks so cute. Because I'm so stuck looking at certain areas that I don't appreciate. Okay, so I want to bring more light into this piece, which means I can do a few things. Like I said, since everything on the canvas is relative, I can just throw in a bunch of darkness in here, and I can get the idea from there. So I have a very light value right over there. I can continue to have a very light value, but let's simply bog it down slightly. This can still be light, but let's have it light in the context of dark. Little stroke like this. Long way. I don't want to be super specific with the strokes that go here. I don't want to make it one standard color. You want to avoid that, by the way. If you guys do a lot of like portrait stuff or designs, I mean, design stuff is different, but if you do a lot of stuff like that involves a very blank background, be a little bit careful about that, because a blank background isn't as innocuous as you might think it is. It can really kill your piece if you choose poorly. And even further than that, just in general, you know, it can really benefit you from just having a slight amount of gradient, just a slight amount of variation. Like you see in this background how this looks cool and this looks weird. But there's a reason for that, because I have these areas of calm in my piece, and I have an area of calm right here, and there's a conflicting nature with it. Not just that, but in general, when you consider the contrast element of the piece, when you have everything in your entire piece as so detailed, and you have a background as just not detailed whatsoever, that's kind of giving your background some power. That's not something you want to do. We don't actively avoid that. Don't give your background any power. It doesn't deserve it. A simple gradient, easy solution right there. But if not, just paint a background. Backgrounds are not nearly as hard as one might think. Especially one like this, which is super fucking lazy. Easy, anybody can do this. That helped a lot. I like to develop that background with a bunch of small strokes. I don't like to just wash over it. So because it looks cool to me, developing in this fashion. I like the way it looks, which is why I do it. But of course, you can do it in a billion different ways. It will look fine. That go. I'll choose to soften up some edges here. I want to play with the lighting a little bit, and then we're gonna get that snow out of the way. That's our mental checklist right there. Let's do it this way actually, because I have a interesting little palette knife option here. Ooh, that's kind of cool. You make the fur kind of spill over. I kind of like that. That's cool. Gives me a softer edge, but also gives me a bit of fur on there. Neat. Again, I don't want to overuse it, because the second you overuse a tool, it becomes trashy. Don't overuse your airbrush, but also don't not use airbrush. Or at least the notion of softer edges. That's important. Gotta use a little bit of softness. Okay, cool enough. Look at that warmth in the chest area. Very, very nice. Throw in some interesting marks here. So this is where I really do this kind of stuff, right? I do the squiggly squagglies. That's where those come into play here. Because these are the fine little marks that go in these areas, so they're the ones that I care the most about. I want to actually design them slightly. Good enough. I want to slightly throw in an additional value here on the side of this little face, right over there, I think.
Oh fuck! I can't believe
Slightly
you've
amp
done
that read a
this.
bit more. Right? A little bit of that maybe? We should really design that shape better, you know, because it's a super clear shape. I mean, what are we beating around the bush for? A bit more clarity, I think, would be nice. Prem, welcome, man. From India, monsieur? Me too. Welcome, buddy. Good to have you in here. What that? Hey James, what's up? How's it going, Kazaki? Good to see you, buddy. It's just morning for you. And yeah, hey, how's it going? I'm gonna post some work, by the way, because you're very clever, you know? You're way cleverer than me, because I don't put artwork in my name, so when people see me in the chat, they just think I'm some random dude. But when they see your name, they'll be like, oh, Prem artwork? Okay, let's check out what he does. Maybe I want to get some stuff from him. Very enterprising of you. I should really consider doing it myself. Just thinking about little notions to finish off, but we're close to completion on this one. So was this a 1 hour 20-minute piece? Just real quick, like. Let me get it. A couple of things are a bit excessive that I don't like. Gonna have to slightly adjust that. A couple of things a little bit too heavy-handed. So it's very minute change. You're not gonna see like my values flying over the place. Those things are mostly settled. Okay. Maybe a little touch of softness right there, because I don't like how that dark cuts in too much. It doesn't matter. So the notion of completion, or something looking complete, it means that you've accounted for every potential light source. Well, not every potential, but the primary ones, the important ones. Those are the ones that are important. So whenever something doesn't look complete in your artwork, it's mostly because you've forgotten one of those fundamental kind of characteristics, the essential ones. So you've forgotten your core shadow, you've forgotten your highlight, you've forgotten something or the other in that sense. That's usually what it is. That's when things look a little bit too flat. And that's actually really good news, because when it comes to painting something really quickly, the only thing you gotta really think about, also this brush lags to high heavens for some reason when I'm on stream. But the only thing I have to consider is what is fundamental to what I'm drawing. What is the fundamental right there? Get that right, you're settled. Cool. Okay, a couple of things. I'm not going to throw on blue right here. Why is that? Because over here, the primary light source, the sun's going to dominate. I will throw blue over here because, again, it's in the shadows. I get to do that in the shadows. I want to maybe develop the snow a little bit more. So let's do that really quickly. I'm going to drink a coffee first because, my goodness, do I. Smash my microphone there. Okay, so what are we doing? We are getting a read on the snow. So this is actually a very interesting little thing to kind of get done quickly. So how am I going to tackle this? Good question. So what is essential about the snow? Well, we have these white crests right there. It's almost like clouds. So if I was going to paint this like clouds, how would I do it? So we'll start right here. Let's develop those stiff peaks first. It's 1:55 a.m. I just finished the Day of the Dead Skull. Thanks for helping me make it look more interesting. You want to post? Post it, man. Show me. Don't just thank me for helping you. Post the results. I want to see. Let's post. Let's add in some of these darks. Let's just throw it like this for a second. Let's just do it really, really quickly this way. So I'll throw in that outside contour, a baseline over here. So I can do this a couple of ways. I think the way I'll choose to do it is with selection tool. Let's in this little mix. Let's throw in some peaks. I have actually a good idea on how to do this. So we're gonna throw in some peaks here. The reason I'm doing this with selection is because it's easier to control. Because I wanna get a pattern of light against dark, but it will be difficult to do this with a brush because a brush is gonna be too uniform. That's the problem with digital brushes, man. They're too stampy. Too stampy. Meaning you can see the effect of the brush too clearly, which sucks. I'm new to Twitch, just getting out into the world now. I thought it's never late. It's never late, dude. Never late. Having a good time. You know who you're gonna like on Twitch if you're new? You're gonna like Maddie. Maddie, very popular among most artists here. She does study streams. Very, very, very good at what she does. I'm gonna do a quick little thing before I make this change because this is a big change. I was thinking about Maddie because there are a lot of Indians in our community, so you're gonna be right at home there. I was actually really surprised because I'd gone a long time on Twitch without seeing other people from our country, but then suddenly they kept popping up in the same channel over and over again. I realized, oh, I've been watching Maddie for nearly a month. Oh, she's the best, man. I used to live very close to her, Netherlands. Now I'm back in India. So we start there with those little peaks. Also post, I'm gonna hold you to it, Kazaki. I'll let you go, man. You have to show me. But yeah, I'm gonna throw in some darks here. Don't really need all that much, you know? Don't need all that much to get that read. You'll get it. We're actually gonna be painting something from a Maddie reference right now on stream, actually. After I finish this. It's gonna be cool. It's not exactly reference, it's on off the reference directly, but it's based on the reference. I'll enjoy that as well. But yeah, there's not that many Indian streamers, unfortunately. I follow a couple of people, like there's a guy called Sunni Panda, streams cooking. He's a pretty cool dude. I like him. Streams very often, but I like him. I guess the whole live streaming thing is not particularly popular in our country. I think people are making fantastic YouTube videos though. Like AIB, for example, is so good. And they've been doing quite well. She's pretty incredible. I remember scrolling through a community art share when I first started and I was blown away. So she's something else. Maddie is special. Okay. Getting these edges out of the way. I'm gonna throw in these little bridge values of DSAT in the middle. This is basically representing the halftone. It goes from being this beautiful, beautiful light fluffy snow in the lights to going slightly curving around because the peaks over here are not stiff, so rather they're not very, very jagged. They go from the area of light to the halftone to the shadow. And then what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to quickly, ever so quickly, grab all of this and I want to generally soften it. So I'm going to throw on a quick little Gaussian blur on this. But what kind of work do you do? Quick little blur here. Even mask it off maybe. I'm planning to start my channel soon. A little worried about my English and accent. Any tips? Your English and of course art are great, by the way. I appreciate that. So when it comes to, you know, kind of doing things optimally, I honestly think don't even bother, man. Like don't even bother. Just speak the way that you know how to speak. I mean, it does help to be you know, articulate, of course. So if you're not articulate, do try and, you know, maybe, you know, improve vocabulary and all that stuff, just generally speaking. But when it comes to the notion of, you know, just trying to be like very standard in terms of presentation, you don't need to. You don't need to. Like, just be yourself for the most part. Like, as long as you're able to convey your ideas, don't be afraid of being yourself. Because really, man, like, the big thing about streaming, the big secret, is that you need to be doing this in a very sustainable fashion. In the sense that you need to do it and enjoy the way that you do it. It's really, really important. People don't talk about it enough. But there's this idea of, you know, this is the most optimized way of presenting your ideas. This is the most optimized way of streaming. And of course, you know, these ideas are okay. They're fine. But the biggest problem with that is that if it's not sustainable, if you're not willing to do that every single day, you're gonna have a miserable time on stream. And it's really important to consider that. Like, your personal enjoyment is really, really important when it comes to streaming. I don't do a single thing. Okay, maybe not a single thing, but I don't do the majority of things on my stream because I think people would like it. I do it because I like it. Right? And what happens is that you'll naturally gravitate people because of the, you know, the traffic on the stream. On Twitch rather, you'll naturally gravitate people that like your work, that like you, that are like you, are similar to you in your tastes. You're gonna make those people want to come see you again and again. So that kind of idea will take care of itself. But don't worry about trying to like be very standard. Don't try and be like anybody but yourself, because it's harder, man. It's way harder. Way harder to be anybody but you. So yeah, definitely if you are worried about your language, for example, you could just stream in your local language. हिंदी में बता सकते हैं because there's some Hindi speakers on Twitch. Like it's not like the language is rare, like it's spoken quite widely, so it's okay. Ho sakta, but the thing is, just generally, there's a lot more English speakers, so maybe you want to speak in English for the majority of the time. You can put like English and Hindi in the title. This actually might be a good idea because it's easier to get partnership from if you're speaking in languages. No, that's a different story entirely. But yeah, I mean, don't be anybody but yourself. Just start easy, start in a way that it's not too much of a big deal to get on stream in a very sustainable manner. You just start, right? You just start, you do your best. Don't try and make every single stream the greatest stream you've ever made. Just do it with the intention of saying, listen, I'm not very used to this, but I want to learn, right? I want to get better. So in that respect, start small, like in the gym, for example. Like you don't go there and you don't lift 400 pounds in your first day. You kind of build up to it. So you build up to it, right? That's exactly what you're gonna do. Build up to it. Not sustainable. Do as much as you can, but not, don't push it too much. Just relax. Fine. I'm gonna have to do. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm gonna have to do a lot of simplification with this snowdrift over here because I've heavily overcomplicated it. Probably shouldn't have done that. Let me pause my timer. There's a couple of questions I want to answer first. Okay, I answered that one. I messed up my colors. Let me see. It's in the finished pieces section. Alright, let me see, Kazaki. Which country are you from? I'm from India. You sound a bit like Nobel, if you know him. He's Dutch. I know Nobel. I don't know if I can slightly Dutchify my accent a bit. Like, I'm coming from Holland. Like, I can slightly Dutchify, but most of the time I'll have very slight variations in my intonation depending on who I'm talking to, just so they can understand me better. But most of the time, this is how I sound. It's not too far away from this. Like when I speak to Indians, for example, I kind of default a little bit more towards the slightly more Indian sounding intonation. But that's just like a natural thing that I do. I don't like intentionally try. Okay, Discord time. Join the Discord, by the way. I run the stream off the Discord, so pretty important. That you join up, where all the tutorials, references, past critiques, all that goes on there. Izaki, could you do me a favor, buddy? Could you just drop that link directly in the chat? Because my Discord is seized up and it refuses to budge. It's a very cool accent. Thank you. I appreciate that. I wish I could say that I worked on it, but it's just been this way for a very long time. Not been the best thing as well for me. Because imagine sounding like this in an Indian high school, for example. It was fucking torture. And I actively tried to not sound like this, but eventually, for a while I actually didn't. Because I was like, okay, I want to be accepted among my friends, so I'm not going to sound like this anymore. But then I just reverted back once I got more confidence. Like, a while ago. A long time. I don't think too much about my school days. Playing a game for 8 hours straight, no problem. Streaming for 2 hours while playing a game, drained. I think as an introvert, it will take me time to adapt so I can be more talkative on stream. It does drain you, man. It is definitely draining. It's not an easy thing to do. Like, I'm somebody that has a lot of internal dialogue. Like, I'm talking continuous words in my head. So all I have to do is just talk. I have to open my mouth and flap my gums. That's all I need to do. But even that is problematic, right? Even that's a problem. Like, the only reason I'm streaming right now is to keep me active. To keep me really active, because I'm so dead tired right now that if I don't do this, I'm just gonna fall asleep. So that's the only reason I'm streaming right now. This is not my usual stream block, by the way. But it's not easy, man. It's not easy. I'm not gonna be one of those people that says, oh, streaming is so hard, man. It's like being in the military. Those people are just straight up dumb. It's not nearly that hard, but it's not easy for sure. Definitely not easy. Is it harder than a 9-to-5 job? I don't think it is. I work 9 to 5, so it's not that hard. But it's not easy either. The comfortable middle ground. So yeah, chill. Don't worry about it. You will build up the capacity. I believe in you. Build up to it. Here it is. Let me see. Oh, that's sick. Have you ever considered that maybe you should sleep? Oh, who am I kidding? You're too far gone. I do sleep quite regularly these days. It's been doing wonders for my health, but lately I have not keeping up because of my city's power issues. It's all work, man. Really cool work. I see you took a lot of what I said to heart. Nice job. Like the engravings. I like the additional flowers right now. That's pretty cool. And candles and stuff. Nice stuff, man. Don't let fear stop you. Creative is a rather friendly and welcoming place. The viewers, I mean. I definitely think so. Creative by far, markedly nicer people. I have never streamed in any other section, so I can't claim to know too much information about what it's like streaming on that platform or on other sections, but I have heard tales and stories. I have heard some fables about what it's like to stream on gaming, for example, and apparently people are a lot more ruthless in there. Not as nice, not as kind. Creative is a little bit different. I don't know what it is about it, but maybe it's because we're just smaller, because everybody knows each other. But it's been nothing but nice. I've really been enjoying my time on Creative. Streaming for about a year, almost a year and a half now. Having just such a blast. And I really enjoy the community that I've built for myself. Just the other ones that I've been a part of since I started. Like there's source of constant happiness and support. It's been a really good time. You can capitalize the A so that it reads better. You can do that in Twitch settings somewhere. I know, but there's a running joke frame about people saying Indian abroad instead of Indian abroad. So I just kept it like that. That's funny. But you're totally right. I could do that. Yeah, but I'm not trying to capitalize on the fact. It's probably a smart idea, you know, because undoubtedly, like you and I are not the only people on this platform, right? That are from our country. So, like, a good idea if you want to do the fraternal aspect of community building is, you know, you have your name be clearly something Indian. People will be like, oh, wait a second, you know, maybe I know him, maybe he speaks my same language. Because there are a bunch of streamers that stream exclusively in German or Japanese that, you know, they just speak that language. Turkish, for example, and they get tons and tons of viewers that are just from that country. It's a thing you can do. You can do that. Do you want to? No, that's up to you. What are you comfortable doing? What audience do you want to build? Like really, you can just make your mark. It's best suited to do so. But yeah, like I said, that sustainability aspect of it, that really is the most important, man. Like nothing else really matters. Just do it. Just do things that you like, do things that you're interested in, and in a manner in which you can continuously maintain it. Letting the art speak is always way better than me talking. You'll be surprised. There are some very good artists on the platform. I can give you some names. Alma, for example. Alma is a good example. Paint Monkey is a good example. Let's talk about some other ones. Maybe oil painters. We can talk about Ethereal Moods is a great example. These are all artists that I've listed that are very capable. They're very good at what they do. However, they don't average. No, they don't average as much as I do. There's a big reason behind that because there's one little aspect of it which is, hey, look at how good my artwork is. But streaming is a little bit different. It's not just about how good you are at drawing, it's more about how good you are at keeping people engaged. Because the unfortunate fact about what we do is that it's not exciting for a viewing experience. Right? Artwork is exciting when you see the finished piece, but how exciting is it, generally speaking, for just the run-of-the-mill everybody looking at the piece being developed? Unless you're an artist yourself, it's not going to be that interesting. And most people aren't artists. Like most people draw, but they're not actively looking to get improvements in drawing. So it has to be entertaining in some way. And the way the creator does it is that what they do is they make it much more viewer engaged, right? So that's why you'll see the creative people, they care a lot more about their viewers. They have incentives, right? They're much more talkative, much more entertaining. They don't just play a game. They don't play their software like they're playing a game. They don't just let the game speak for itself, let the gameplay speak for them. It's not enough because we don't deal with that kind of aspect anymore. So for good viewer retention, really important to kind of present it in a decent way. So not to say that you want to go above and beyond. Like if you want to make your stream about just the art, you can do that and you can succeed in it easily. But just generally speaking, if you really want to stand out earlier, then I would suggest like at least having something in there. How you choose to run this is always up to you. But that's the problem with art in general as a community. I mean, people can always argue, and it's a sad thing. It's a sad truth of life. But you can always say that the average art streamer probably works more than half the top level streamers, right? Like, look at somebody that works. Look at Dave Greco, for example, or Maddie. Look at these artists over there. They grind so hard on their stream, right? They work so fucking hard, yet they're not making even like close to the same amount of just impact on the website. They're not getting the same amount of gravity. They're not getting paid nearly as much for their efforts as say the average people in the top of other sections, like gaming, for example, right? And you can argue saying it's so unfair, man. The world's fucking unfair, but really, it's just human nature. That people aren't going to be as interested in these kind of as they are in super flashy games or women with giant tits that bounce around. It's not going to be as appealing in the general sense, but it's okay. Like Bill Burr says, when one door is closed, just open another one. Oh, Jets, get him, Jets, ban that bot, Jets. That's a bot, by the way, if you guys are wondering. That bot better be banned, Jets. I swear to God, if he says one more word, I'm demodding you. Welcome?
Did you welcome the bot? Jets, I'm unmodding you, you son of a bitch. You let him through. That's a bot.
Suck, Jets.